Introduction. Defining true power. To determine the most powerful mafia boss in history requires more than counting murders or measuring wealth. True power is multidimensional: territory, money, authority, influence, peace, protection, discretion, and legacy. This analysis examines 5 legendary bosses from NYC's 5 families using objective metrics that reveal who wielded the most sustainable, far-reaching control. The 5 contenders. Joseph Joe Bonanno's Bonanno family, 1931 to 1968, the longest-serving original commission boss who survived into old age but whose overreach nearly destroyed him. Tommy Three-Finger Brown, Lucchese family, 1951 to 1967, the quiet genius who controlled the garment district and operated without headlines. Joseph the Olive Oil King, Colombo family, 1963 to 1971, the youngest boss who broke omerta publicly and paid with a bullet. Carlo Gambino, Gambino family, 1957 to 1976, the boss of bosses who died free after 19 years atop the commission. Vito Genovese, Genovese family, 1957 to 1969, the ambitious boss whose paranoia led to the Appalachian disaster. The 8 metrics. Territory and reach, geographic reach beyond local neighborhoods. Control over money, sustainable revenue generation and control. Authority in the hierarchy, actual decision-making power versus title. Influence over other families, commission, cross-family power. Capacity to reduce conflict, maintaining peace and discipline. Institutional protection, political corruption and legal shielding. Operate without exposition, discretion and longevity. Resiliency, whether the system survived after them. Each boss will be scored 1 to 5 on each metric, 40 points maximum, with detailed analysis supporting each score. Part 1. Joseph Bonanno, the survivor. Joseph Bonanno, 1905 to 2002. Boss, 1931 to 1968. 37 years, longest tenure. Metric 1. Territory and range, 4 stars. Bonanno's reach extended from Brooklyn to the Bronx with strong operations in New Jersey. He established connections in Montreal, Canada, and maintained ties to Sicily. His family controlled rackets in California and Arizona, where he eventually retired. Unlike families that remained NYC-focused, Bonanno built national reach. However, compared to Gambino's East Coast dominance, Bonanno's territory was more dispersed and less integrated. Score: 4 out of 5. Significant national reach, but less concentrated power. Metric 2. Control over the money, 3 stars. Bonanno controlled loan sharking, gambling, and labor racketeering. His family was involved in Montreal's Sicilian heroin connection. However, the Bonanno family was considered the smallest of the 5 families economically. Bonanno's legitimate businesses, cheese factories, and funeral homes generated income, but nothing like Gambino's union control or Lucchese's garment district monopoly. Score: 3 out of 5. Profitable, but not dominant in major industries. Metric 3. Authority in the hierarchy, 4 stars. Bonanno's authority was absolute within his family for decades. He promoted family members to key positions and maintained strict discipline. His autobiography reveals a boss who brooked no dissent. However, by the 1960s, younger members like Carmine Galante challenged his authority, indicating some erosion of control. Score: 4 out of 5. Strong, but eventually challenged. Metric 4. Influence over other families/commission, 2 stars. This is Bonanno's fatal weakness. In 1963, he plotted to assassinate commission members Gambino and Lucchese, a catastrophic overreach that destroyed his standing. When the plot was exposed by Joseph Colombo, the commission stripped Bonanno of power. His subsequent kidnapping, likely self-imposed hiding, further damaged his credibility. By 1968, he was forced into retirement, the only original commission boss to lose power through internal revolt. Score: 2 out of 5. Attempted power grab backfired spectacularly. Metric 6. Capacity to reduce conflict, 2 stars. The Bonanno War, 1964 to 1968, tore his family apart after his removal. His ambition created the conflict he should have prevented. While he maintained internal peace for decades, his ultimate failure to manage succession smoothly demonstrates poor conflict reduction skills. Score: 2 out of 5. Created major conflict through ambition. Metric 7. Protection institutional, 3 stars. Bonanno maintained political connections in NYC and Arizona. He was never convicted of major crimes despite decades of criminal activity. However, his protection was insufficient to prevent him from removal by the commission. Score: 3 out of 5. Adequate but not exceptional. Metric 8. Operate without exposé, 4 stars. Bonanno maintained a relatively low profile until the 1960s plot. He operated quietly for 3 decades. However, his later autobiography, A Man of Honor, 1983, violated omerta spectacularly, describing Mafia operations in detail. Score: 4 out of 5, mostly discreet until self-promotion. Metric 8. Resilience, 2 stars. The Bonanno family never recovered from the turmoil of the 1960s. It became the weakest of the 5 families. In the 1990s, FBI agent Joseph Pistone's infiltration, depicted in Donnie Brasco, further devastated the organization. Boss Joseph Massino later became the first sitting boss to turn informant. The family's structure collapsed repeatedly, demonstrating weak institutional resilience. Score: 2 out of 5. Family severely weakened, eventually collapsed. Bonanno total: 24 out of 40. Summary: Bonanno's longevity was impressive but deceptive. His attempted commission assassination plot reveals a boss who fundamentally misunderstood power dynamics. While he survived personally, dying at 97 in 2002, his family never achieved lasting strength. His legacy is survival, not dominance. Part 2. Tommy Lucchese, Power in Shadows. Tommy Lucchese, 1899–1967. Boss, 1951–1967, 16 years. Metric: territory and range, 4 stars. Lucchese controlled operations across New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania. His garment district rackets operated nationally. Clothing manufactured in NYC was shipped nationwide, and Lucchese's union control extended to trucking routes across the East Coast. He maintained connections in Florida and Las Vegas. The Lucchese family's airport operations at JFK, depicted in Goodfellas, demonstrated sophisticated multi-state hijacking networks. Score: 4 out of 5. Strong East Coast dominance with national reach. Metric 2. Control over the money, 5 stars. This was Lucchese's genius. He dominated Manhattan's garment district, a multi-billion-dollar industry, through union control. He controlled trucking companies, infiltrated Teamsters locals, and taxed every fabric shipment and finished garment. The airport rackets generated millions in cargo theft. His diversified revenue streams, garment, trucking, unions, airports, and traditional gambling and loan sharking created sustainable wealth that outlasted Prohibition-era bootlegging profits. Score: 5 out of 5. Dominant control of major industry with multiple revenue streams. Metric 3. Authority in the hierarchy. 5 stars. Lucchese's authority was absolute and unquestioned. He ran the family for 20 years as underboss 1931 to 1951, boss 1951 to 1967, without internal challenges. When he designated his successor, it was accepted without dispute. His nickname, Three-Finger Brown, which he hated, was never used to his face, a sign of respect. Even powerful capos never questioned his decisions. Score: 5 out of 5. Unchallenged authority throughout tenure. Metric 4. Influence over other families or commission. 5 stars. Lucchese and Carlo Gambino formed the most powerful alliance in Mafia history. When Joseph Bonanno plotted to kill them, Joseph Colombo revealed the plot to Lucchese and Gambino, demonstrating where true power lay. The marriage of Lucchese's daughter, Frances, to Gambino's son, Thomas, in 1962, with 1,000 guests and $30,000 cash gifts, cemented an alliance that controlled the commission. Together, they dominated NYC organized crime 1960 to 1967. Score: 5 out of 5. Co-controlled commission with Gambino. Metric 5. Capacity to reduce conflict. 5 stars. The Lucchese family was called the most peaceful crime family in the nation. Lucchese avoided internal wars, maintained strict discipline, and mediated disputes before they escalated to violence. When Bonanno's assassination plot was exposed, Lucchese and Gambino used the commission to neutralize him politically rather than triggering a war. This demonstrated sophisticated conflict management. Score: 5 out of 5. Exemplary peace maintenance. Metric 6. Institutional protection. 5 stars. Lucchese became a naturalized citizen in 1943 and his criminal record expunged. He maintained close relationships with NYC mayors William O'Dwyer and Vincent Impellitteri. Congressman Vito Marcantonio lobbied for Lucchese's political interests. When the government tried denaturalizing him in 1952, the Supreme Court dismissed the case on technicalities in 1958. When the McClellan Committee called him to testify in 1958, he invoked the Fifth Amendment to every question and faced no consequences. Score: 5 out of 5. Extraordinary political protection at the highest levels. Metric 7. Operate without exposition. 5 stars. Most Americans never heard of Tommy Lucchese. He operated as Thomas Brown, a respectable businessman. While Gambino and Genovese became known names, Lucchese remained invisible. He was arrested only 6 times in 5 decades and served only 13 months total. He never became a media target. This invisibility was strategic armor. Score: 5 out of 5. Perfect operational security. Metric 8. Resilience. 4 stars. The Lucchese family remained powerful after Tommy's death. Carmine Tramonti and Anthony Corallo continued his methods. The family dominated garment and airport rackets through the 1980s.
The 1986 commission trial finally broke the family's power, but it took RICO statutes and massive prosecutions 19 years after Lucchese's death to accomplish what no rival family could. Score: 4 out of 5. Strong institutional legacy that required federal intervention to break. Lucchese total: 38 out of 40. Summary: Tommy Lucchese exemplifies power without headlines. He dominated a major industry, controlled the commission with Gambino, maintained perfect discipline, corrupted government at the highest levels, and died free after a brain tumor, never imprisoned for his crimes. His only weakness was not living longer to extend his influence.
Part 3. Joseph Colombo, the Tragic Reformer. Joseph Colombo, 1923–1978. Boss, 1963–1971. 8 years active. Metric 1. Territory and reach. 3 stars. Colombo controlled Brooklyn and parts of Long Island. The Colombo family, the smallest of the 5 families, operated in NYC, New Jersey, and Florida. However, compared to Gambino's vast reach or Lucchese's industry dominance, Colombo's territory was limited. Score: 3 out of 5. Significant but localized power. Metric 2. Control over money. 3 stars. The Colombo family controlled gambling, loan sharking, and labor racketeering in Brooklyn. They infiltrated longshoremen's unions and cement and concrete businesses. However, they never achieved the industrial monopolies of Gambino or Lucchese families. Colombo's legitimate real estate business generated income, but nothing approaching Lucchese's garment district or Gambino's union empire. Score: 3 out of 5. Profitable, but not dominant. Metric 3. Authority in the hierarchy. 3 stars. Colombo became boss at 40, young for a mafia leader, after revealing Bonanno's assassination plot. This created both loyalty, he saved Gambino and Lucchese, and resentment. He was seen as Gambino's puppet. Internal challenges emerged quickly. His public profile through the Italian-American Civil Rights League angered traditionalists who believed in omerta. By 1970, boss-level authority was questioned. Score: 3 out of 5. Authority compromised by youth and controversy. Metric 4. Influence over other families/commission. 2 stars. Colombo gained his position by serving Gambino and Lucchese's interests, revealing Bonanno's assassination plot. This made him powerful but also indebted. He was never an equal on the commission. His formation of the Italian-American Civil Rights League alienated other bosses who saw publicity as dangerous. Carlo Gambino reportedly ordered Colombo to disband the league. When Colombo refused, he lost commission support. Score: 2 out of 5. Limited influence, seen as junior partner. Metric 6. Capacity to reduce conflict. 2 stars. The Second Colombo War, 1991 to 1993, erupted decades after Joseph's shooting, but seeds were planted during his tenure. His public activism created internal divisions. His shooting in 1971, likely ordered by Carlo Gambino, demonstrates his failure to manage conflicts with more powerful bosses. Score: 2 out of 5. Created conflicts he couldn't control. Metric 7. Protection institutional. 2 stars. Colombo's Italian-American Civil Rights League attracted politicians seeking Italian-American votes, giving him some political connections. However, his high profile attracted FBI attention rather than providing protection.
He was arrested multiple times and lacked the political corruption network of Gambino or Lucchese. Score: 2 out of 5. Minimal institutional protection. Metric 8. Operate without exposure. 1 star. This is Colombo's greatest failure. He founded the Italian-American Civil Rights League, held public rallies attracting 50,000 people, appeared on television and gave interviews. He claimed the Mafia didn't exist while being a Mafia boss. This unprecedented publicity violated every principle of omerta. Other bosses were horrified. On June 28, 1971, at an Italian Unity Day rally in Columbus Circle, Colombo was shot 3 times in the head by African-American gunman Jerome Johnson, who was immediately killed by his bodyguard. Colombo survived but remained in a vegetative state until his death in 1978. The shooting was almost certainly ordered by Carlo Gambino, who saw Colombo's publicity as dangerous to all families. Score: 1 out of 5. Complete failure of discretion. Metric 8. Resilience. 2 stars. After Colombo's shooting, the family fell into chaos. Carmine Persico took control but faced constant challenges. The Colombo Wars, 1991 to 1993, killed dozens. The family never achieved lasting stability or power, remaining the weakest of the 5 families. Score: 2 out of 5. Weak institutional legacy. Colombo total: 18 out of 40. Summary: Joseph Colombo represents a cautionary tale. His public campaign against FBI harassment of Italian Americans violated omerta fundamentally. While his intentions, building mainstream political support, were innate, his execution was catastrophic. Carlo Gambino reportedly said Colombo had a big mouth that endangered everyone. The shooting that left him vegetative was the price of publicity. His brief tenure and the family's ongoing weakness demonstrate that breaking omerta, even for seemingly legitimate purposes, destroys rather than builds power.
Part 4. Carlo Gambino, the Perfect Don. Carlo Gambino, 1902–1976. Boss, 1957–1976, 19 years. Metric 1. Territory and range, 5 stars. Gambino controlled operations from New York to California. The Gambino family dominated East Coast waterfront unions, New York, New Jersey, Philadelphia, controlled trucking routes nationwide, and maintained connections in Cuba, Sicily, and Italy. Gambino forged ties with Boston, New Orleans, Florida, Chicago, and California families. His influence extended to Las Vegas casinos. He was truly national in scope. Score: 5 out of 5. Comprehensive national and international reach. Metric 2. Control over the money, 5 stars. Gambino controlled waterfront unions, New York, New Jersey docks, JFK airport operations shared with Lucchese, trucking industry, Teamsters infiltration, construction industry, concrete, cement, garment district, partnered with Lucchese, gambling operations, and loan sharking networks. Annual revenues reached hundreds of millions by the 1960s. Unlike bosses dependent on a single revenue stream, Gambino built a diversified criminal conglomerate that could survive any single prosecution. Score: 5 out of 5. Dominant control across multiple industries. Metric 3. Authority in the hierarchy, 5 stars. Gambino's authority was absolute. He became boss by orchestrating Albert Antastasia's murder in 1957, demonstrating he could eliminate even a sitting boss.
His underboss Aniello Della Croce commanded legendary respect but never challenged Gambino. When Gambino designated Paul Castellano as successor, bypassing Della Croce, the family accepted it despite internal disagreement, testament to Gambino's authority even in death. Score: 5 out of 5. Unchallenged authority. Metric 4. Influence over other families or commission, 5 stars. After Appalachian, 1957, and Genovese's imprisonment, 1959, Gambino effectively controlled the commission. With ally Lucchese, he dominated Mafia politics 1960-1967. After Lucchese's death, 1967, Gambino reigned alone as the unofficial chairman of the commission. When Bonanno plotted to kill commission members, Joseph Colombo revealed it to Gambino, showing where true power lay. Gambino made Colombo boss as reward, then later ordered his shooting when Colombo became a liability. Gambino was the ultimate kingmaker, determining leadership of multiple families. Score: 5 out of 5. Dominated commission completely. Metric 6. Capacity to reduce conflict, 5 stars. Gambino's greatest skill was avoiding wars. He eliminated Anastasia through assassination rather than war. He neutralized Bonanno politically rather than militarily. He maintained discipline within his family without internal conflicts. The Gambino family under Carlo was extraordinarily stable. No internal wars, no major defections, no challenges to authority. This stability allowed continuous business operations and wealth accumulation. Score: 5 out of 5. Master of conflict prevention. Metric 7. Institutional protection, 4 stars. Gambino maintained high-level political connections. Despite FBI surveillance, he was never successfully prosecuted after 1937. Tax evasion, served 22 months, and the government tried deportation proceedings, but Gambino's health issues and legal maneuvering prevented it. When FBI placed his home under constant surveillance, 2 years, they recorded only frog legs being discussed, testament to operational security. The tight-lipped Gambino never gave investigators usable evidence. Score: 4 out of 5. Strong, but not as comprehensive as Lucchese. Metric 8. Operate without exposure, 5 stars. Gambino maintained an extraordinarily low profile. Small in stature, with a prominent nose and sporting an almost permanent friendly grin used to disarm detractors, he appeared non-threatening. He avoided media, gave no interviews, and cultivated a reputation as a quiet don. Most Americans knew the name Gambino only because the family bore it, not because Carlo sought publicity. He died having served only 22 months in prison over 5 decades. Score: 5 out of 5. Perfect operational discretion. Metric 8. Resilience, 4 stars. The Gambino family remained the most powerful of the 5 families after Carlo's death. Paul Castellano continued the corporate approach, 1976-1985. Even John Gotti's flashy style, 1986-2002, couldn't destroy the family's institutional strength. Today, despite decades of RICO prosecutions, the Gambino family remains active. Carlo's emphasis on diversification, discipline, and discretion created resilient structures. Score: 4 out of 5. Strong, lasting legacy despite later challenges. Gambino total: 39 out of 40. Summary: Carlo Gambino was the most complete mafia boss in history. National reach, industrial control, absolute authority, commission dominance, conflict prevention, political protection, perfect discretion, and lasting legacy. He died in bed of natural causes at 74, the ultimate success for a mafia boss. His only weakness was slightly less political corruption than Lucchese, otherwise perfection.
Part 5. Vito Genovese, the ambitious failure. Vito Genovese, 1897–1969. Boss, 1957 to 1969. 1957 to 1959 free, 1959 to 1969 imprisoned. Metric 1. Territory and range, 4 stars. Genovese controlled operations across New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Connecticut. The Genovese family maintained connections in Florida, Las Vegas, and internationally, Italy, Cuba. They dominated New Jersey waterfront and Greenwich Village rackets. Geographic reach was extensive, though not quite matching Gambino's comprehensive control. Score, 4 out of 5. Strong multi-state reach. Metric 2. Control over the money, 4 stars. The Genovese family controlled Greenwich Village gambling and nightclubs, waterfront unions, New Jersey docks, narcotics trafficking, despite official ban, construction industry extortion, and loan sharking operations. Revenue streams were substantial but less diversified than Gambino's empire. Genovese's involvement in narcotics, despite the Mafia's official ban, created risks. Score, 4 out of 5. Substantial but riskier revenue mix. Metric 3. Authority in the hierarchy, 4 stars. Genovese became boss by forcing Frank Costello into retirement, 1957, attempted assassination. His authority within the family was absolute initially. However, imprisonment in 1959 created questions about continued control. From prison, Genovese maintained influence, but actual day-to-day operations fell to others. His authority was strong, but geographically limited by incarceration. Score, 4 out of 5. Strong, but compromised by imprisonment. Metric 4. Influence over other families or commission, 2 stars. This is Genovese's fatal flaw. He aspired to be boss of bosses, but his Appalachian meeting, November 1957, was raided by police, humiliating the entire mafia. The disaster exposed organized crime nationally, leading to the FBI's Top Hoodlum program. Gambino and Lucchese allegedly helped frame Genovese on narcotics charges, 1958, arranging for drug dealer Nelson Cantalopes to testify falsely. Genovese was convicted and imprisoned in 1959. His ambition destroyed his influence. Instead of dominating the commission, he became its cautionary tale. Score, 2 out of 5. Ambition exceeded ability, humiliated at Appalachian. Metric 5. Capacity to reduce conflict, 2 stars. Genovese's rise involved attempted murder, Costello, actual murder, Anastasia, with Gambino, and the disastrous Appalachian meeting. His paranoia drove him to constantly suspect betrayal. The Appalachian disaster created massive law enforcement pressure on all families, the opposite of conflict reduction. His imprisonment resulted from rivals conspiring against him, indicating poor relationship management. Score, 2 out of 5. Created conflicts rather than preventing them. Metric 6. Institutional protection, 2 stars. Genovese lacked the political connections of Gambino or Lucchese. His time in Italy, 1937 to 1945, fleeing murder charges, showed inability to protect himself legally. His narcotics conviction, legitimate or frame-up, demonstrated insufficient institutional shielding. Score, 2 out of 5. Inadequate protection. Metric 8. Operate without exposure, 2 stars.
Genovese's ambition made him highly visible. The Appalachian meeting, intended to legitimize his power, instead exposed him to unprecedented scrutiny. His 1958 arrest and 1959 conviction made him a public symbol of organized crime. He operated only 2 years as free boss, 1957 to 1959, before imprisonment, hardly sustainable discretion. Score: 2 out of 5. High profile led to rapid downfall. Metric 8. Resilience. 4 stars. Ironically, despite Genovese's failures, the Genovese family thrived. It became known as the Ivy League of Mafia families, most sophisticated and disciplined. Vincent the Chin Gigante, boss 1981 to 2005, restored the family to dominance by rejecting Genovese's ego-driven approach. Today, the Genovese family is considered the most powerful of the 5 families. This resilience came despite Vito, not because of him. Score: 4 out of 5. Strong family legacy despite weak boss. Genovese total: 24 out of 40. Summary: Vito Genovese exemplifies how ambition without wisdom destroys power. He wanted to be boss of bosses, but lacked the political protection, Lucchese, diplomatic skill, Gambino, or discretion, any successful boss, to achieve it. The Appalachian disaster and his imprisonment within 2 years demonstrate spectacular failure. The Genovese family's later success came from learning what not to do from their namesake.
Final analysis. The verdict. The scores: Carlo Gambino, 39 out of 40. Tommy Lucchese, 38 out of 40. Joseph Bonanno, 24 out of 40. Vito Genovese, 24 out of 40. Joseph Colombo, 18 out of 40. The answer: Carlo Gambino was the most powerful mafia boss in NYC 5 family's history. Why Gambino wins? Gambino scored maximum points 5 out of 5 on 7 of 8 metrics. Territory, 5 out of 5. National reach. Money control, 5 out of 5. Multiple industries. Authority, 5 out of 5. Unchallenged power. Commission influence, 5 out of 5. Dominated governing body. Conflict reduction, 5 out of 5. Maintained peace. Operating without exposure, 5 out of 5. Perfect discretion. Only weakness, institutional protection, 4 out of 5. Still excellent. Lucchese's near miss. Lucchese scored identically except resilience, 4 out of 5 versus 5 out of 5. Why did Gambino edge him out? Duration. Gambino ruled 19 years, 1957 to 1976, versus Lucchese's 16 years, 1951 to 1967. Geographic control. Gambino's nationwide waterfront control exceeded Lucchese's garment district dominance. Commission leadership. While both dominated the commission together, 1960 to 1967, Gambino continued alone after Lucchese's death, proving he could rule without a partner. Death circumstances. Both died of natural causes, free men, but Gambino at 74 after 19 years as boss represents the ultimate mafia success. The case for Lucchese. Lucchese's defenders argue superior political protection. Supreme Court dismissed denaturalization, which even Gambino couldn't achieve. Perfect invisibility. Most Americans never heard his name, better than Gambino's modest fame. Industry monopoly. Garment district control was more complete than Gambino's diversified approach. These are valid points. Gambino versus Lucchese is a 39-38 photo finish. Either answer is defensible. The also-rans. Bonanno, 24 out of 40. Longevity without dominance.
Survived 97 years but lost commission standing through overreach. His family's weakness demonstrates that duration doesn't equal power. Genovese, 24 out of 40. Ambition without execution. Despite giving his name to what became the most sophisticated family, Vito personally failed spectacularly. Appalachian and rapid imprisonment demonstrate how ambition destroys those lacking supporting skills. Colombo, 18 out of 40. The tragic reformer. 8 years as boss, then shot into vegetative state. His public activism violated omerta fatally. Demonstrates that mainstream legitimacy and mafia power are incompatible. The Gambino formula. What made Gambino the most powerful? Strategic patience. Gambino waited decades to become boss, learning from others' mistakes. Alliance building. Partnership with Lucchese created unbeatable power block. Industry control. Diversified revenue across multiple industries reduced risk. Conflict avoidance. Eliminated rivals surgically. Anastasia, without triggering wars. Perfect discretion. Low profile despite massive power. Institutional longevity. Structures outlasted him by decades. Natural death. Ultimate success. Died free at 74 in bed. Methodology notes. These rankings reflect historical consensus based on FBI surveillance reports, commission trial testimonies, cooperating witness accounts, Valachi, Gravano, Messino, financial records from prosecutions, academic organized crime research, and contemporary law enforcement assessments. The bigger picture. If we expanded beyond these 5 to include bosses from all eras, Lucky Luciano, Genovese Luciano family, 1931 to 1946, would score 38 out of 40. Created the commission itself. Invented modern mafia structure. National reach during Prohibition. Weak on institutional protection, imprisoned 1936, operating without exposure, famous, resilience, deported, died in exile. Luciano invented the game. Gambino perfected it.